This is the agenda for the class. We'll be seeing the following things. We'll be seeing in short the syllabus and the main objectives of this course. And secondly, we'll see the example to make you understand the importance of this course web technologies. And third, we'll be seeing the programming languages as well as softwares and tools that we use as part of this online course. And finally, we'll see what is URL and what is the difference between URL and URI. There we end up our introduction class. Before we look at the syllabus, I wanted to tell you one thing. If you want to create only beautiful websites, then learning HTML and CSS itself is really good enough for you. But if you want to become a web developer and a web designer, and if you wanted to work with a very powerful websites, it means that if you wanted to create not only the beautiful websites, but also the more powerful websites, then you need to learn this entire syllabus, whatever I am showing you now. Okay, in short, I'll discuss what is what. Okay, right. We have 6 things that we are going to do as part of this online course, web technologies. Firstly, we'll see XHTML, CSS and XML basics. Basics of XML will be seeing and full XHTML and including CSS, whatever the CSS that is required to make you understand, to make you build a beautiful web page, that part we will be seeing. So very easily we can finish this first point. And secondly, we have JavaScript. More powerful, more time it takes to make you learn JavaScript, because JavaScripts are very, very important. They are very powerful. They are client-side programming. This language you are going to learn. And after completing JavaScript, we'll enter into advanced Java servlets, and then we'll be having JSP. JSP is more powerful language, very much similar to Java servlet, but it is not replacement to servlet, but we have some advantages with JSP and we have some advantages with the Java servlets. There are some situations where servlets are best and there are some situations where JSPs are best. We'll be seeing those details as part of Unit 3 and Unit 4. As part of Unit 4, we'll also have a database connectivity. As part of this online course, we'll be using a database MySQL. So we'll be writing applications using Java servlets and JSP interacting with MySQL database. And after completing JDBC, we'll enter into some enhanced or improved topics or very important topics that are related to web technologies course as X, JSON, mail servers. This is very, very important. Once after doing all these 5 units of course, finally we'll be having some use cases and mini projects to make you better in the course. I'll give you some use cases and I'll also give some problem statements of mini projects and I'll make you work on mini projects. So there we can end up our online course. Objective of the subject, so simple. I want to make you a very good web developer. This is the main objective of this course. There is no other objective of this course. The one and only single ultimate goal of mine is to see you as a very powerful web developer. To make you motivate, I'll tell you some websites. Very powerful and very well-known websites, well-known web applications in this world, which are created using the technologies that you are going to learn now. The very first one, Google Web Applications. You know that Google is one of the biggest companies in the software evolution since from many years. It's a very big company. It has so many web applications like Google Search is one of the applications, YouTube, Gmail, Google Drive, G Suite relating to Google Docs, Google Forms, has so many applications. All those applications are called as web applications. And you should not confuse there also, when you learn how to create a web application, you can also make web application which is compatible in mobile. So by learning Android Studio, you can also create a mobile application which is similar to web application. Web applications, mobile applications, of course, there is a small difference. But basically, if you know web technologies, then it's very easy to become a mobile application developer. All these are web applications first and then mobile applications next. Both are in use now. In the same way, we have Facebook. In the same way, we have Amazon, Twitter. All these are world famous, very popular web applications which are absolutely developed using whatever the syllabus that we have seen just now. using those technologies, only these kind of stuff, these kind of powerful web applications were developed. If you understand this example, I'm pretty much sure that you have got an eligibility to learn to start this web technologies course. And if you don't understand this example, or else if you are not interested with this particular kind of subject, then you can skip it out right here. Okay, so because at this point itself you need to decide whether to take this course or not. All right, here is the example. Let's start. Let's imagine that you are logging into your Gmail account. If you wanted to log into Gmail account through your laptop or desktop computer, what you would do, you will simply open your browser and you will type www.gmail.com, and this is the page that will be loaded for you. In this page, you will be providing two parameters, two inputs you have to provide. One is your email and the other is your password. The moment you press the sign in button, what happens means these two input parameters will be sent to the Google's application server. This is the first step. That's why I have mentioned. Clearly follow each and every step. These input parameters are sent to Google's application server. Okay. So whenever you type www.gmail.com, gmail.com is a domain name. It's a web address. It's a web address, but you cannot interact with the other server, other computer within the network just by domain name. Your domain name has to convert it to IP address. Basically, the Google's application server will be identified through IP address. Your IP address is not a new thing. Your IP address has, because the IP addresses, remembering IP addresses are very hard. That's why for an IP address, a name will be given. That name itself is www.gmail.com. So the moment you type www.gmail.com, it means that you have created a connection to the application server already using that domain name. Alright, because the domain name will be internally converted to IP address, and these two parameters will be sent to Google's application server. Right. So what is this Google's application server? The meaning is that application server is a place where we deploy applications. What are applications? Programs. They do the business logic for us. So what is the logic that is required here for us? Because during the registration process, user might have given some password to his user email. So emails and passwords are available in Google's database server. Okay, which may be located in different location or within the same city. We don't know where exactly this is located, but I wanted to teach you how this communication is established and how this program executes. Right. So whenever username and passwords are given to the Google's application server, there an application or a small program, what it does means, for a email user extracts the password from Google's database server. Internally, some SQL database query will be executed, just like select password from user tables where email equals to. So what are the email address provided? Let's just like xyz@gmail.com. So whatever the exact password is there, that exact password will be given to Google's application server. So Google's application server wants to establish connection to database. This is happening through JDBC, and the moment it is established connection, it extracts the password and stores somewhere else in one of the variables in the application program. Now it is time to match the password that is stored in the database server and the password that is provided by the user. Again, the same program tests whether the user is authenticated or not by executing simple comparison operators like Java. In Java we have comparison operators like equals. Using that comparison operator, string comparison operator, we'll be knowing whether the user is authenticated user or not. Let us imagine the user is perfectly authenticated user, the password is matched. In that case, then only you can see this page will be loaded in your computer. This is your welcome screen where the inbox will be shown to you, the list of mails and everything. Okay, you might be using Gmail, it's not a new thing at all. So I have just shown you what are the internal things that are happening. There are 4 points. Let us in short discuss what are those 4 points. Establishing connection to Google's application server by providing username and password. And establishing connection to Google's database server because we need we need the real password that is stored in the Google's database server for the inputted value email. And the password will be written to the Google's application server's program. Now the password is compared. The real password that is stored in the Google's database server will be compared with the password that is provided by the user. And finally, in case the match is perfect, then the login screen will be displayed to you. Here we are going to use an internal architecture called as 3-tier architecture or multi-tier architecture. In short, I am going to tell you what kind of architecture is used and how the things are getting done. But here what you need to identify, the most important thing that you need to identify is that 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Okay, and one thing also I'll tell you here itself, the difference between static web page and dynamic web page. Look at here, anybody in this world, when they type www.gmail.com, they'll be seeing the same page. Alright, so the page where username and a password will be asked. This page is similar for every user. So this is called a static page. The content on this page is similar, and most of the time it is fixed. It is static for all the users. Okay, it is constant and fixed for all the users. What happens once you provide username and password sign-in button? A login page, in case your password is correct, then you can see a login page. It means that every user has its own login page. Look at here, your login page is different from mine. The welcome screen, once after logging into you will be seeing your mails and I'll be seeing my mails. It means that every user in this world have their unique page, and that page updates every time. Every time a person gets a new mail, the page will be updated with a new mail. So the state of that page is not fixed. The state changes whenever any event occurs, like new mail arrives or any mail that you delete. Immediately the state of the page will be changed. That kind of pages are called as dynamic pages. To develop these kind of web pages, we require only HTML and CSS. That's all. We are not making any involvement of application programming here. So that's why HTML and CSS and at most JavaScript, which is client-side programming, is used to develop these kind of pages. What I meant to tell you is that developing these kind of pages are very easy. But to develop these kind of pages, you need to learn application programming like Java Solids and JSP. Okay? Good. Right. The previous example, whatever I've shown, depends upon this kind of architecture, 3-tier architecture, which has come into the existence only after evolution of internet. That means WWW, World Wide Web. Only after the invention of World Wide Web, this 3-tier architecture has come into existence. So here there are 3 tiers. The meaning of tier means group of services. Group of services. There are 3 tiers. What are those tiers? Client, application, database. Okay. So client tier means client side group of services. Application tier means there are some group of services which are related to application server. And database tier means there are some set of services or group of services that helps at database, that services at database level. So these are the different types of tiers. Now, let us imagine our previous example. So this page, the browser page, that means username and password, is loaded at the client level. Okay. So basically we interact with the browser. Any web application we interact with. If web applications, we access web applications using a software tool called as browser. Client-side programming, we have XHTML, CSS and JavaScript. So once after username and password are given to the application server, okay, before the login page is loaded here, some logic has to be done. This logic will be done at the application server. This is a place where we host our applications. This is the second tier, application server. So we have different types of softwares. We can install the application server in our machine. We can have this group of 3 services together at one single machine also, and we can call it as a single server with 3-tier architecture. Okay, we can run these 3 services in one single machine to learn this subject. Application server, there are so many softwares that are available to install. You can make your own computer as application server. What are the set of softwares and tools that are available that I am going to discuss as part of this lesson itself. So once after username and password, this username and password are passed to application server, and here the set of application programs are stored. to run the business logic or application logic. And no data is stored in the application server. The data is always stored in the database server. Database means the place where data is stored. So there are so many database server softwares like Oracle, MySQL. We are going to see the popular softwares and the software that we are going to use as part of this online tutorial as well. Nowadays, the same architecture is also called as multi-tier architecture. It means that you can break down this application server as two, and the database server as two, and client-side services as two, and people call them as multi-tier architecture, but three-tier architecture is fixed. So at many times whenever I use the architecture, you just remember it is three-tier architecture. No additional tier was found so far. Okay, we have still had client tier, application and database. They themselves can internally divide some number of tiers or some number of group of services independently each other, and together people call them as multi-tier architecture, but still it is a three-tier architecture. Right. As I said, I'm going to discuss about the languages and softwares and tools that we are going to use as part of this online tutorial. We'll see what are the set of languages that you are going to learn. You are going to learn XHTML and JavaScript. XHTML, JavaScript are client-side programming languages. XML is entirely different from HTML, and it is very important to learn XML basics because XML is a database. It's a semi-structured database that is widely used in web services. So it's very important to learn the basics of XML. You don't have to worry, I'll teach you very well these concepts. Next, we have the application programmings like Java Solidus, JSP and JDBC. Application programs are Solidus and JSP only, and we write application programs with the help of JDBC by making a connection to database like MySQL. And you are also going to learn the advanced internet technologies like AJAX, JSON and mail servers. Mail server means to develop. Here my intention is not to teach you how mail server is created. Don't misunderstand me. In case if you have a registration form like this, how to interact with the mail. When you fill a registration form, how a mail is sent from registration form to the mail. Nowadays you can see some registration forms. Soon after filling any registration form, you will get a mail. Just like if you have registered through Amazon, you will get a mail from Amazon. In the same way, if you have developed your own web application, how to send a mail to the users. So that thing will be seen, mail servers, how to interact with mail servers using our web application. Now we'll see the most important thing. What are the set of software tools that we are going to use as part of this online tutorial? As part of this online tutorial, we are going to use Apache Tomcat, which is an application server, and database MySQL. And we are going to use an IDE to write our programs. The place where we write our programs, the IDE, that means integrated development environment, is Apache NetBeans. Apache NetBeans is one of the powerful IDEs with respect to Java environment. Since this course is planned using Java, and I'll be using Apache NetBeans. Apache NetBeans is a very good IDE, very beautiful, very powerful. So I'll be using Apache NetBeans. Now, other than the software tools that I have discussed as of now and languages that I have discussed as of now, we'll also see some other popular applications and programming languages that are available. As an alternative to Java, we have some other programming languages as well as part of application programming. So we'll see. So popular application programming languages are here: Java Solidus, JSP. So I'll be using Java Solidus and JSP as part of this online tutorial because it's a Java tutorial. And we can also develop web applications using PHP. We can also develop web applications using Python, which is similar to Java, and Microsoft's ASP, Active Server Pages. Okay, so these are alternatives to Java. PHP, Python, ASP are alternative application programming languages to Java. Java means Solidus as well as JSP. In the same way, other than Apache Tomcat, which is very popular for deploying Java applications, we have some other application servers we are going to see now. Popular application servers. As part of this tutorial, I'll be using Apache Tomcat because this is free, open source and very popular Java based application server. In the same way, we have Apache 2, which is from the same company Apache, but works good for deploying PHP applications. So these two are free. Apache Tomcat is for Java, Apache 2 for PHP. And we have two very good commercial application servers. WebLogic is from Oracle and WebSphere is from IBM. They are also very good application servers. And we also have popular application server from Google called as Glassfish, which is free and open source. So as part of our tutorial, I'll be using Apache Tomcat. Good. So popular database servers, as I discussed earlier, Oracle, which is commercial, and a free version of Oracle database servers are also available. To learn database, you can download Express editions from Oracle 12c Express edition, or anything. For every release there will be an Express edition to test the software of Oracle. Okay, there is no time limit, you can download it, but there will be restricted features. Of course, we can use them for education purpose. And Microsoft's SQL Server and IBM's DB2, these are very popular commercial database servers. But as part of our videos, our tutorial, I'll be using MySQL, which is free and open source, very powerful database RDBMS database server. MySQL I'll be using. And we also have another option called as MongoDB, which also supports NoSQL. It also supports, it's an RDBMS as well as supports NoSQL, MongoDB. Right. So the last topic that I wanted to discuss something about URL. URL means Uniform Resource Locator. The best example is www.gmail.com is one example. Here I am showing you www.xyz.com. It's an URL. It's a web address basically. So you know that computers can never understand characters. Characters has to be converted to some numbers. In case of web address, has to be converted to IP address. Then only the physical location of the server is identified. As an example, I have shown you www.xyz.com. Computers has to convert this address to IP address, as in the way I have shown 175.212.4.216. Then only the physical location of the server will be identified. So this is what URL. The basic form of URL is www. Any number of characters, that means the web address .com. .com is basically a domain name. .us or .uk, .edu, .in. So all these are domain names. Okay, basically putting all together we call it as URL. And before internet came into existence, there is a term called as URI, Uniform Resource Identifier. So in case before internet, people used to connect one computer to another computer using a physical connection called as LAN, Local Area Network. And in the same way, in case within the city or within the university or within the campus, you can connect the computers using MAN, Metropolitan Area Network. So both are same, the same concept. A physical wire will be used to send the request and to access the data from one location to another location. In such case, URIs are used, Uniform Resource Identifier. So if you want to connect one computer to another computer using LAN wire, then you need to provide username, password of the computer that you are going to connect, and the physical location of the computer, the IP address, that means the IP address of that particular machine, and the port number. Okay, so port numbers basically, look at here, the computer that you wanted to connect might be having so many softwares installed in it. Like it might be having Microsoft Office, it might be having VLC media player, and it might be having so many services running in that particular machine. And I wanted to tell you one thing, every service will run in one particular port number, a unique port number. Okay, so if you wanted to access a file from one computer, then you need to give username, password, IP address as well as port number, because the files will run under one section. For an example, FTP is the protocol, file transfer protocol. So FTP based application, if you are running to access a file, that application will run in one port. That port, as an example, I've shown 3106. Okay, one example I can tell you, if you install Oracle database will occupy in a predefined port number called as 1521. 1521 is the Oracle database number. In the same way, 3306 is a port number that is by default occupied by MySQL. Okay, you can still stop them during installation. You can assign different port numbers if you want, but those port numbers are reserved for Oracle database. Okay, so it's good that if you give that kind of port numbers, whenever we install any software, that software will try to go into its default port number if available in your computer. Otherwise, that software installation will raise a complaint saying that this port number is not available. You can assign some other port number. Okay, at a very rare case that happens. All right. So what we have discussed is very simple things today. We have seen the syllabus and we have seen the objective of the subject, and we have seen the most popular web applications to motivate you. And I have shown you one simple example. So through this example, you should understand whether you are going to learn this subject or not. And to develop such kind of web applications, we use three-tier architecture, where we have client, application, and database tier. Tier is basically group of services, and set of languages, softwares, and tools that we use. And popular application servers, database servers we have seen, including the programming languages. And finally, we have seen the difference between URL and URI. So basically the difference, what is the major difference between URL and URI is that URL is simply a web address. URL is one of the forms of URI. URI is the biggest thing. In that biggest thing, URL is one of the forms. That's all. Thank you so much. We'll definitely see you in the next lessons. Bye-bye. If you like my videos and if you want me to continue on YouTube channel, then please subscribe and switch on the notification bell.